Hi, I'm Jesse Akister, and today we are going to talk about bracing and one variation of hinge pattern. One of the big issues I find with people not understanding how to hinge or how to deadlift is like they don't understand this like hip position and the fact that this all stays locked and the hinge comes at the hip. This is all like one block that doesn't move. But also the thing that we notice a lot is that most people have some kind of imbalance and there's like shifting that happens. So one of my favorite ways to fix that or to start to build up the weak side is by doing single leg movements where we have to isolate and really feel that hinge pattern, but bring up the weak sides have to work independently. So one of the ways I like to start working on fixing that is by starting to do unilateral hinge pattern. This is going to force people to understand how they're hinging, but it's also going to make independent legs work. It comes up very obvious which side is the weak side and where someone is struggling. And by building up through single leg movement, we can eventually come to a pattern where we've got both legs moving together, and then that's going to help fix those shifts and things that we see that it would long-term cause injury. So common errors when we're doing hinge patterns are firstly that the core isn't braced. So you'll extend here. People are taught to keep a straight back and stick their hips back. Now, just because you're sticking your hips back does not mean that your core is engaged. So if you're doing your hinge here and then pulling with your back, your erectors are doing all this work, you're getting all this impact on your lower back, your spine, your SI joints. Those are not designed to be loaded that way, which is why people end up going, I deadlift but my low back hurts. To combat that, what we need to do is shorten and expand through this whole area. That's what we're talking about when we talk about bracing. We're trying to get engagement and tightness through the whole front section, which is going to support the back rather than the back doing all the work. Once this is engaged, so a way I like to do that is get people to pop their fingers here on your external obliques and your lower abs. And then if you laugh, you'll feel those muscles engage. Okay. Once you feel that engage, I want you to keep that tightness and then see if you can take the hips back but without losing that tension in the core. And then as you come up, it's squeezing the bum to come up, but there's no loss of that tension in the core through the movement. Most people when they start can't do that, which means that if you can't maintain that just for a normal hinge pattern with no weight, there's no way you're going to maintain correct tension while you're loading it with 150 kilos. So once we're shortening and pushing everything out, we're making sure that this is really nice and tight and engaged. We're going to have just a slightly soft knee and we're going to hinge, taking the hips back. Now, this core position doesn't change, but we're going to see if we can reach down to the floor. Now, this spine position won't change because this is so tightly engaged. And then we're going to think about pushing even harder here and use this to lift and squeeze the butt to stand up. So, the muscles you should be feeling here are through your core, your external obliques, your low abs, and then your hamstrings and your glutes. You shouldn't feel your back at all. Also notice that I've got tension on the inside of my legs. If you're here, you're disengaging and you're not going to be using the right muscles. So we want to make sure we've got the knees tracking forward and we've got tension on the inside and the outside of the leg. So let's look at that from another angle. So what I commonly see, especially with CrossFitters or people who've been taught a lot of Olympic lifting, when they've been told knees out, knees out, knees out, and they do this, which is going to disengage and put them in this hyperextended position. What we want to have is tension on the inside of the knee. That does not mean we're collapsing in. We've just got tension on the inside of the leg. You should then also feel tension on the inside of the hamstring. So, once you've mastered being able to brace and hinge here, then we can look at if you're imbalanced one side versus the other, and most people are. So my favorite movement at the moment for fixing that is a staggered stance deadlift. Now, what we're going to do is, coming from the front, I want you to see that we've got tension on the inside of the leg. So this back knee is not going to come out, it's going to come in. You're on the toe. This is just a balanced leg. Your weight isn't on it. All your weight is on this front leg. We're keeping the hips straight. We're still bracing the core. This position does not change. You're going to take the hips all the way back. Still the hips remain straight. And your opposing arm to your front leg will come grab the kettlebell, and from here we'll stand and squeeze. Again, it's not about this knee getting locked out. All of this is going to be felt in your glutes and your hamstrings on this working leg. That back leg again is just for balance, and it's remaining turned in, keeping these hips straight. So here's another angle so you can see the back position and what's happening with the hips. So again, we're going to brace the core, so our spine's in that neutral position, everything's pushing out. All of our weight is on the front leg, this back leg's a support leg. Hips going back, opposite arm to your front leg, and then squeeze to stand up. Alright, so we're going to talk about a few common errors when doing the staggered stance deadlift. What I notice a lot is that people end up in this position. So you're here, this is not going to get you into the right position, so we want to make sure there's that internal tension on the leg, always thinking about keeping it in. So the whole problem with this coming out is it's taking your hips out of that neutral position, which is the same problem and why I don't program single leg deadlifts. Because if you're on one leg, most people don't have the balance and proprioception to be able to stay with hips neutral and hinge, plus then do it with loading. It's like, it's a disaster waiting to happen. All the time I'll see people doing this, and they're doing their single leg deadlifts, and the hips are going all over the place, and you're just like, you're waiting to yourself up. If you come to this side, is people, it doesn't matter if there's some rounding in the upper back, but to me there's this movement in the spine. If there's some rounding in the upper back, it's fine, but this all needs to be locked in one place. You want to brace it really hard and then stand up, so we don't want to see any of these. Okay? That is not a hinge, you're doing it all in your back. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed what we do, please subscribe, please follow, please share with all your friends, and stay strong, stay hangry.